Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. So today's episode, I got a nice lot of games from a good buddy of mine, Jason Wells. He came across a really nice collection of PS1 games. He immediately sent me a picture and said, hey, I'm looking to pick this up later today. Do you need any of these? And I needed like 3/4 of them, and he was nice enough to set them aside, give me a great deal on them, and he even shipped them right away. Like, I got them a day later, even though it said 2-day shipping. So happy to get those. So stick around and I'll show you what he got me. Alright, so first of all, thank you, Jason, for the hookup on these. This is really cool. Definitely there were some games in here that I've been looking to get for a long time, and then just the variety was really good too. So I'll start with the long box games, and that was one of the things that caught my eyes. There was a lot of the long box PS1 games that I didn't have yet. As you can see, my stack's not too big for those ones yet, but I'm hoping to fill a couple of these shelves with them eventually, because there's definitely, I think there's over 100 long box variations on PS1. First one I got is the first NFL Game Day. So, in fantastic shape. These are all complete, and there's the manual stuff. One thing I don't like about the long box games, there's some people that prefer the jewel, some people that prefer the long box. I actually like the long box games, and this cardboard one is my favorite style of long box games. What I don't like, though, is that the manual just kind of is loose in there. If that was fixed, this would be my favorite, and I would have loved it if all the PS1 games were this cool, harder cardboard. It's not like a Nintendo box that dents easily and stuff. It holds up a little longer, but at the same time, they do wear, and sometimes you find them in less than desirable shape in the wild. And actually, I'll show you a few that are getting that way. This second one I got in the Pittsburgh pickups trip, but I didn't get the long box version, and so I figured I'd get that variation as well. And it is Siberia. And this version, this one's cool because it holds the manual in. And this version of long box is the second variation they had, which is a hard plastic long box case. It has the artwork behind the disc, which is kind of cool. And the flaw with this one is, as you can see, the glue comes undone very easily on the artwork on the outside. So it's like each one of these variations had different flaws, and maybe they did. That's why they were like, we're just going to the small jewel case. But this is pretty cool. Glad to have this, and it's in pretty good shape otherwise. I'm going to try to do some research on what kinds of glues might be good, because I don't mind reattaching these. I just don't, usually I don't want to mess with the original games in their condition, but stuff like that I feel like I can, as long as it isn't a bad glue that's going to eat through, I don't mind repairing it. Now this is pretty cool. This is a tactical game, and it's made by, I don't know the name of this company, but I remember seeing this logo a lot when I was a kid, and usually what it meant when I saw it as a kid is this game's way too complex for me, because when I was a kid, these games were, and probably now, they're still really deep, tactical thinking games. And it's not just this series, there's other series made by this company, and they're all, it's almost like Koei games that do like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms games. They're really in-depth, And this one is called Panzer General. The cardboard style long boxes. There's the manual disc, and is actually in really good shape. And now that I've played more easy, acceptable strategy games, like for the regular person like myself who might not be as into the deep games, like Advance Wars and Fire Emblem, maybe I could go and play something like this, because it does have the the tactical turn-based nature, and then when they're shooting each other, you see like enemy and your character is fighting, and so I feel like now I could go back and play a deep game like this and really enjoy it. So awesome to have that one. This is another really cool one to have. It's a FMV game that I've wanted since I saw there was a Saturn version back when I was really focusing on Saturn. But now that I'm going for PS1, glad to have it regardless. And that is Brain Dead 13, starring Fritz. It has colorful cartoon characters, and it actually has the manual, and it actually has 2 discs. The other one is in a sleeve right here, so it's a 2-disc game with all the video it's got. But yeah, this is really cool. Glad to have this. Very unique game. And another long box I didn't have. Moving on. This is another one I'm going to have to glue some of the parts that are coming off, but the game is called Shell Shock. I don't know too much about it, other than it looks like you're a ground-based something. Vehicle, mech, whatever. And maybe a tank. Looks like there's a tank on the cover, so that's probably what it is. And early PlayStation. I love the back art on these. Um, Early PlayStation game. The graphics don't look anything mind blowing, but probably was very impressive back in the day. So very cool to add that one. This one is a PC port of the game Descent, and there's another one, Descent Maximum, for PS1 that's only in jewel case, I believe. But this is complete and pretty good shape. Just gotta seal up those ends. And then the last long box game is actually the one I'm most excited about. I actually played a little bit of this already, and I really love how the music's so different in the PlayStation version of this, because this is one of my favorite PC games of all time, and I love the music in that version too. It's classic, but it's so cool like hearing the different tone, because it really does change it up, and that is Doom. I love the box art on this too. It's a really classic Doom artwork, up there with the original Doom artwork, in my opinion. And what I love too is it's on the disc, and it just looks so cool. Like, look at that. That looks so nice. And it's in my favorite cardboard style of box, so really excited. And yeah, it plays really smooth, and I love me some Doom, so very glad to have that. Let's take a quick break, talk about some of my PlayStation favorites this episode, and then we'll continue the rest of the Wells pile when I get back. Okay, so I want to talk about a Star Wars game that's not mind-blowingly great, but I always liked because of the style they went for. So there's a lot of Star Wars games for various platforms, and there's actually quite a few on the PS1. But I like this one because I'm a fan of good old beat-em-ups, good old Final Fight, Streets of Rage, Turtles in Time, Golden Axe. I love beat-em-ups. They're simple, you can pick them up and play, and they're great co-op fun. So they ended up making Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles, and it is a side-scrolling beat-em-up in 3D with Episode 1 characters. And even though I'm not a fan of Star Wars Episode 1, I still have memories of watching it, and it's still classic for me. So I still like a little bit about it. And a lot of the stuff I like about Episode 1 were actually the games I played back in the day, and this is one of them. I really like this, and I wanted to talk about it because two things. For one, if you like beat-em-ups too, you probably can find some good fun in this. Maybe not playing it by yourself, but I played through this with a friend back in the day, and I always have good memories of it. And the good thing about beat-em-up is even when it's simple and basic, you almost can't screw it up. It's like a beat-em-up. You just run from one side to the screen, progress forward, and fight guys as they come in waves. But there's enough variety in this with the enemies, and what's cool is one of the good things about the prequels is they added a lot more stuff to the Star Wars lore, so all the enemies and droids and all that stuff they added into the franchise worked out well for this beat 'em up style game. And I always like playing. You can play as Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, but I always played as this dude with the alien looking face, and his name's, I think it's Plo Koon, if I remember correctly, and I always played as him. I think he had a yellow lightsaber. It was just unique looking, plus I liked his alien face. Reminds me of like the Predator when he had his mask on still before he took it off, and Arnold said that he was one ugly mother. Boop. Great classic scene if you haven't watched Predator, as I spoil it. But another reason I wanted to talk about this game, not only is it a fun game, but there is actually a variant of this that you don't see very often. And I don't know if all copies had this and then people have lost what makes it a variant, or if there were truly two versions of it. But you'll notice this cover is very different. It's got the two lightsabers clashing. And it's actually, it looks, even though this one has more going on and looks more action-packed, I kind of like the simplicity of this one, especially the colors and the black background. It's really cool looking. But one thing you'll notice is it actually isn't a manual. It's just a cover card thing on it, and the regular manual is behind it. So that's why I said I don't know. I'm going to have to do a little more research, or if anybody knows in the comments or heard about it, why there's a variant. But so that's kind of why I have two copies of these in my collection, because I don't know if it was a difference. As far as I can tell, everything else is the same. I looked at the manuals and the back of the box and the dates and everything, copyrights, all the same. But I figured until I know a little more about this, I wanted to keep both. But definitely keep an eye out for this one, even if it's not worth a lot more. Which I did see a couple sold for like $30 on eBay last year or something, and the game is not worth $30. It's like probably 10 or under. So definitely if you see this one, this is the one to get. But if you like good old school arcade beat 'em ups and don't mind the episode 1 franchise being the setting, I think you should definitely check it out. It's a pretty cool game. So I talked about some of my favorite platformers last episode. I had 2 of them, and there's actually one more that I kind of wanted to talk about. It's a series that kind of wore out its welcome and has been dead ever since this era. They had it on PlayStation, N64, and 3DO is actually where it started. And there's a Saturn port of the first game and everything. And I wanted to talk about my favorite in the series, and it's not the best game, but I still think there's a lot of fun to be had with it. And that game is, in series, Gex Enter the Gecko. So the first Gex, if you've never played it, is a side-scroller, which I'll show you the cover of it real quick. This is the first Gex, and it's a side-scroller, kind of like a Donkey Kong Country-esque one, except you can climb with Gex's suction cups. You can climb up walls and stuff, so it's got some cool traversal, and it's a classic. A lot of people really liked it when they played it on like the 3DO, and it's been ported and enjoyed by other people. This was the first attempt at 3D, and it is a Mario 64 clone where you go into levels and complete objectives to get items that total up to open more levels and stuff like that. So it's that flow, just like a Mario 64 Banjo-Kazooie. And I really like that form of... I know a lot of people think collectathons are, but this has a lot of gameplay variety in the missions to get those... They're actually TV remotes in this one. So I think it's really cool. And the series also lampoons a lot of movie franchises. As you can tell, he looks a lot like James Bond here or something, or maybe even Mission Impossible. I think James Bond's what he's going for, though, because the world map or level select screen is kind of like the castle in Mario 64. It has like a James Bond sounding song. But I don't know, I really like the level design. There's some cool parts, like the first world you go into is based off of like an old Warner Brothers cartoon, which I'm a big fan of, and there's hunters that look like Elmer Fudd and carrots, and you have bunny ears on your head, which make you look like a Bugs Bunny, parody. So there's a lot of cool stuff like that. And at the time I played this, he talks a lot. He has Dana Plato, I think, is the... Let's see. Or Dana Gould. Dana Plato, I think that's the girl from Night Trap, who unfortunately passed away. Dana Gould is a comedian who did the voice for Gex. And back in the day, it was kind of cool to hear him make quips and parodies of, lines of, he'll like say Austin Powers references. So, a lot of stuff that's dated nowadays. But back in the day, it wasn't too bad. Now, the N64 port of this game, because it was on cartridge, had less voice clips, so you heard the same ones a lot more. So when I played that version, I actually liked it less because of that. I was like, oh my gosh, they're getting annoying. But I bet you if I play this now, the voices are going to get annoying even now. It's just that, like I said, at the time, it was new. It was, the era where still CD audio was kind of impressive, especially, like I said, with the N64 being out and being cartridge-based. There was a lot of times where sound design-wise, the PlayStation versions would be better. But I like it. I think it's a really fun, simple platformer. It's got a rental sticker thing here, but that reminds me of where I got it, so it's kind of classic too. There was a rental store where I got a lot of these games for $5 a pop back in the day, so I'll always hold that place dear to my heart. But I see the stickers from it, and I'm like, oh, that's right. But it's a cool game. Definitely check it out. Now, I have, but have never played the third one, Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko. I played a demo of it, and I remember it being more of the same, so it's probably okay if you like Enter the Gecko. But I'm going to talk about this one because this is my favorite Gex game. And maybe there's no place for Gex to return or anything, but it would be kind of cool, I think, if Gex came out and had another Mario 64 style platformer. So if you're into that kind of game, definitely check this out. Camera angles are a little wonky, and they give you different options to control it, some better than others, but you're not fighting too much with the controls any more than most 3D platformers of the era, so that doesn't really sway my opinion on it too much. If you can deal with, even Mario 64 has some bad camera angle parts, so if you can deal with, trying to manage the camera a little bit, it usually doesn't get in the way of the actual gameplay, which has some pretty cool level design and great variety. So Gex Enter the Gecko, check it out. Okay, so those were the long box games I got from them, but I also got some small jewel cases as well. And I'm going to start with one that kind of continues with where I left off in the long box games. The first one here is Final Doom, and this one's cool too because it's like master levels and evolution, or like different map packs. I'm assuming they were PC ones too, but very cool. And I also noticed Doom 2 was on either the first one or this one, and that's just cool to know that on PS1 they got all those Dooms. And now that I have the Dooms and the Duke Nukem 3Ds, and then I have what's the one I got last time? Hexen. I have a lot of the PC ports on PS1. I'm really excited. They had Quake 1 planned for PS1, and it never came out. And I would have really been happy to have that on PS1, but that's okay. So the next game, I used to play this back in the day on Saturn and N64. It's a classic, and for me, and it's a update of a classic franchise, and that is Rampage World Tour. And it's a simple game, very arcadey, but I really like this. I think, there's the classic Rampage, and then they made this one. They made other ones since then that weren't as good. I like this era, the PS1, N64, and Saturn era Rampage game. Really fun, and you got the 3 characters you can play as, smashing up the city. And it's super pick up and play, and I love it. And there's 2 more on PS1, Universal Tour, and then there's Rampage Through Time. So I'm super excited to play those ones as well. The next one is a PlayStation staple franchise, and I didn't have this one. You've seen a couple others that I've had, or at least one other one that I've had. And it is Rage Racer, which I think was the third. I think it was Ridge Racer Revolution, Rage Racer, and then R4. So Rage Racer. Didn't have it before, and it's in great shape. Cool disc art with a red faded gradient background. So glad to have that one, another classic for the system. And then this one was funny because you saw I got the long box Panzer General, and I believe this was, the sequel, Allied General. So whoever he got these games from liked their technical games. And this one, the manual is super crisp. I don't know if you could tell, it's like never played. And it's a 2-disc case, but with 1 disc in it, so they have the PlayStation logo here. One thing to always look out for, if you get a game that is only a 1-disc game for the PS1 in one of the 2-disc size things, if it has a disc holder here, it's probably a replacement, because it had PS1 logo right there, if you can see it. So anyway, glad to have this game. So I now have, I don't know if there was a third one or if this was the only 2 for the system, but it's cool. And there's that logo again that reminds me that this game's going to be difficult, at least for my young mind. I was like, what? And then this last game was one that when he sent me the picture, I was like, whoa, what is that one? Like, it's whenever a game I don't recognize, I'm like, what? It's at least uncommon. And luckily for me, it wasn't expensive. It's a cheap game. But it is uncommon, and from what I saw of it so far, it's right up my alley. I actually really like it. And it is Iron Soldier 3. In great shape, other than the fact that I replaced the case, because it looked like, when I lifted the disc up, it looked like underneath there was, maybe the owner previous spilled soda on it, and so there was this dried, caramelized, dark substance that was on there, and I was like, oh god. So I changed the case out, but the art and disc and everything were in great shape. So easy fix. One of my favorite things about PS1 is the easy fix game. So that's what I got from Jason Wells. Thank you again so much, Jason, for the hookup. I mean, you guys won't believe the deal he gave me on these, and even though a few of them have some condition issues and stuff, they're fixable things. It's not like any of them were incomplete or anything like that, and that's all I care about. So I'm gonna add up, what this means. I'm gonna be crossing the 400 threshold this episode, but what exactly that number is, because there is a double that I have in the jewel case and now have a long box, so it's not just adding these total. So let's see what the number is this time. So I'm a complete buffoon, and I almost forgot about the coolest thing about the stuff Jason Wells sent me. Now, I'm not counting these towards my full collection, like the number that I've been giving you guys, but I am going to try and get these all in my overall pursuit, even beyond having the complete, one of each game complete collection. First of all, I'll show a little thing he gave me, which is unrelated to PS1, but is PlayStation related. It's a little launcher DVD to load some stuff into your memory stick for your PSP, and it looks like there's some, I don't know if it's movie trailers or movies, or I don't know, it might just be movies because it says the memory stick entertainment pack. So it's just kind of a neat little thing that he threw in there, and I appreciate that, Jason. But this blew my mind that he had some of these. So in my pursuit of a list for all the PlayStation releases, when I was looking online and trying to find a list that fit what I was looking for, that didn't count the variations as different entries and stuff, I saw that there was a series of, I think, at least 30 games for the PS1 that were sold directly to schools as part of an educational program. So they're all educational based games, but sometimes there's some fun educational based games. So like I'm like out there like, oh my gosh, there's PS1 games that could actually be kind of fun, and maybe they all suck, but I think they're Lightspan Adventures is the name of the series, and you can find out a little bit about them online, but still they're super obscure. That'd be something to look for at a thrift store, actually. But he had 3 of them packed in there. So there's Mona and Moki to Drive Me Wilder. And there's no pictures or anything, so I have to check it out to see what it is. But it's in it's in like a sleeve, and I think it was all in like a shoebox size box for the full set that schools would order. And then there's The Secret of Google. The Google Accounting Fair. And it's got some writing on it. It's probably from the school, so I don't know. It's like I kind of like the writing and stuff on this because it's like it's history, and I know a lot of people don't mind having stickers and writing on stuff because of that very reason. I actually don't like having writing in my games, but this is such an obscure thing. I really like knowing where it came from and stuff. And then the last one is called Creative Voyage. So I have no clue how these are. I haven't tried them out yet, but when I saw he threw these in there, I was like, what? There's some of those educational games. And they say Lightspan Adventures up here in the corner. So I'm going to try to track these down as well. But hey, I got 3 to start thanks to Jason. So Jason, you rock. All right, so the PlayStation Pursuit is now at 409 games for the PlayStation 1. So finally crossed that special threshold of 400 games. It's one of the milestones, I think, as I've been going along. Every 100 will be, a milestone. So 400 games, and to think I was under 300 when the series started. So, and I've only been doing this for, not so long. So for you guys, it's been a little longer because I'm filming these episodes and scheduling them, as I go. So this may have been less time than it seems for you guys, but I've been making a lot of really fast progress on this because of all the people like Jason helping me out, and I got tons of friends like keeping their eyes out. Hey, do you need this? Do you already have this? Especially if they see something cheap at a thrift store or something, and I appreciate that, everyone. So keep rooting me on, and I'm going to get to this goal before we know it. So thank you again for watching. Once again, please subscribe if you haven't yet. Definitely want to reach that 500 subscriber milestone soon, so really appreciate your subscriptions, and of course any likes and comments. I love talking to you guys about the games I talk about in these episodes, and until next time, we'll see ya.